Planning your podcast. Before I was a podcaster, I was a writer. I was first introduced to the craft of writing by my sixth grade English teacher, Miss Cornwall, a no-nonsense blue-haired lady. I remember it so well because she introduced me to the task of diagramming sentences, and I've been a graphic kind of guy ever since. In this brief iMovie, we'll step through the planning process of producing your podcast and try to bring a little order to the situation as black stuff hits white stuff. Writing a daily blog is going to be the foundation of a new project, but more on that later. Any podcast begins with a plan or editorial schedule. My weekly podcast is supplemented by a monthly newsletter. Each activity exists first as a title, including date of release and episode number. FYI, I don't number my weekly blogs because I use two release dates. I contribute to two print sources on Thursday, and my personal blog is released the following Tuesday. My agreement to the print media is that they are receiving fresh, as in new, material. At PodCamp 2014, I learned that an elevator speech is now considered too long, and every blog or podcast needs a memory dart. My competition is not all the other podcasters out there, it's all the other noise on the internet, and I'm only competing for a pixel of space. Think headlines in the New York Daily News, a 1940s, 50s tabloid sheet. One memorable front page headline of my youth was Russians at Gates of Berlin. An individual podcast takes shape with the first outline. Again, I look to the newspaper model and think features. In features, we're talking about funny, sports, editorials, horoscopes, obits, and etc. A note here, my weekly podcasts are long form, usually 20 minutes or longer with interviews. A personal podcast of me just talking would not be more than 15 to 18 minutes and contain at least 3 elements or sections. At this point of outline, I'm not concerned with order, just making sure everything is included. This is number 2 yellow time and a spiral notebook, usually big box brand with heavy-duty cover and 100 sheets wide ruled. From the outline, we move to a script created in Pages or Word document. I write an introduction and assign an episode number. This is also the header of each page. Transitions follow with an outline or order of recording. If you have commercials to insert, these are pre-written and recorded separately. Each podcast has a close, and I encourage listeners to give feedback, tease future episodes, and encourage feedback. As Dizzy Dean once remarked, first I tell them, then I tell them what I told them, then I tell them again. FYI, I have a podcast in mind of sports wisdom, a compilation of Dizzy Dean, Casey Stengel, and Yogi Berra. It ought to be a real hoot. Prior to the production, interviews which have been recorded are pushed to the computer. The plan comes together. For the script, it's time to print. Everything up to this point has been leading here. First, select an ink-friendly font, and for me, size 18 typeface, usually 1.2 lines per inch. Bridge Maven gets white paper, and me and my iPhone gets green paper. Each section has a brief rehearsal out loud. My wife hates this part. I may have to redact or correct spelling, grammar, or syntax. Miss Cornwall would be proud. She didn't give me such great grades, but it's 50 years later and I still remember this stuff. A quick re-rehearsal and it's time to connect the Logitech headset, tweak the preferences settings to get it right. Open GarageBand, we're almost home. When I first started, I recorded each segment separately and pasted them into GarageBand. Now I'm more linear. I can record and produce a podcast of 25 minutes, including interviews, in less than 2 hours and make a disk archive copy. Conclusion: What I've found in my process is I have converted blogs to podcasts and I have exchanged readers for listeners. In truth, I've always been more concerned with the sound of my words than the look of the finished product on paper. This has been easy for me. My writing has always tended to be more conversational. A word about avatars. During Jeff Brown's presentation at PodCamp of Podcast Academy fame, there were a lot of questions about logos. This is when I defined there was room for the Podcast Bootcamp, the website. For more about avatars, come to lesson number 1 in Podcasting for Fun and Profit. This iMovie was produced for use in promoting Podcasting for Fun and Profit for the fall term of Cohen Adult Education. See you there.